Hello everyone. This Sunday, as I was taking some exercise with my family, unfortunately we were the victims of a unpleasant and vicious racist attack. Though thankfully it didn't get violence, it definitely got close to it, with sustained verbal abuse, threatening gestures, and bad language, and it certainly left us all very shaken. But what was interesting about the attack is that it wasn't actually anti-Semitic, but was rather Islamophobic. You see, we were all bundled up in the cold weather for this walk, for this exercise. I was wearing a little cap on my head, a sort of woolen cap to keep myself warm, and my beard is rather longer than usual at the moment due to barber shops being closed. I'm quite dark-skinned as it is, and with all of us bundled up, clearly this deranged aggressor thought that we were Muslim and attacked us accordingly. And I have to say that whilst I would never wish myself, a family, or anyone really to go through such a frightening 5 minutes, in a sense it was definitely an enriching sort of experience. I really saw things from another angle, an experience through another set of eyes, something that I would never normally suffer, and to see life through a different people, a different race, a different faiths, experiences was almost like a trip to another world. Even actually as we were standing there, being attacked and abused, it was almost surreal. And I remember just thinking to myself, do I tell the abuser, this aggressor, that I'm not Muslim, that I'm Jewish? Will that make it better or worse? And is it somehow immoral to play into this evil mindset by defending ourselves, by saying, no, we're not Muslim, we're okay, we don't attack us? Is that a legitimate form of self-defense, or is it somehow wrong? All discussions that my family and I had after all of this was thankfully over. But this brings to light an important insight. You see, this Sedra, this Sefer, is called Shemos, names, Shemot. And names symbolize all that is unique about us, different, individual, our own dreams and aspirations, our goals and our challenges, that which is personal in our life journey. But despite the Sedra being called Shemos, it actually has very few names in it. Immediately after listing the names of the sons of Yaakov and telling us about their death, it actually stops using names. There are no names at all. It all becomes grey, monochromatic, and anonymous. The marriage of Moshe's parents, as the prelude to his birth, is described as Vayikach ish mibeis Levi, Vayikach es bas Levi. A man from the house of Levi takes a daughter of Levi. No names given, just from the family of Levi taking a daughter of Levi. And it carries on. When Moshe is drawn out of the water, but rescued by Basya, the daughter of Paro, all she sees is a Nar Ivri, a Jewish lad. And it's only in Vayigdal Hayeled, when he grows up, Vativiyu lebeis Paro, and the child is brought to the house of Paro, then Vatikra Shemo Moshe, then she gives him a name. Does she bother finding out what the Jews called him? What he's been called till now? No. And even when she gives him his name, it's Kimin Amayim Meshisiu, relating to her life and his life as part of her narrative, how she took him out of the water, and perhaps symbolically meaning that I drew him out of this formless, faceless mass symbolized by water that he was part of, and now I'm giving him an individual life and the privilege of being brought up in my palace. Vayigdal Moshe, it carries on, Moshe grows up. Vayetzer Lochiv, he goes out to his brothers. Vayar Ish Mitzri, Maka Ish Ivri. He sees an Ish Mitzri, an anonymous Egyptian, smiting an anonymous Jew, perhaps indicating to us what the essence of exile and slavery is, the loss of self-worth and ability to see individuals. What allows the Mitzri to smite the Jew? Because all he sees is an Ish Ivri. He doesn't see a person with a name, an individual, just the other, the Ivri. What allows the Egyptian to smite him? Because I'm an Ish Mitzri. I don't see myself as an individual, but just as part of a group, the essence of a totalitarian state, in which even the persecutors lose their own identity, and the oppressor perhaps pays ultimately as big a price as the oppressed. Indeed, the very onset of the Golus, the exile, is Vayokom Melech Chodosh. A new king, unnamed, arises, Asher lo yoda es Yosef, who perhaps knew about Yosef as a historical figure, but certainly didn't know them personally. And how does he deal with the Jewish people? Havonis chakmo lo. Let us deal slyly and cunningly with him, with it, with a non-individualized mass. seeing them as a group identity, the other, operating only as part of a group. And therefore I can believe my lies, that they're the other, they can't be part of us, they have no individuality, they're formless, and therefore by definition they contradict our identity as Egyptians, and therefore will be traitors to the state. And it seems that even Paro falls into his own propaganda, because when he criticizes the midwives for not obeying his commandment to kill the Israelite children, they respond, no, ki lo noshem hamitzviyos avrios. The Jewish women aren't like the Egyptian women, ki chayos heino, they're inferior. They're like animals, they don't need medical care, midwives, when they give birth, they just somehow give birth by themselves. And remarkably, Paro seems to accept this answer, perhaps believing it, because of his own prejudices. And this really is the essence of all discrimination, of fundamentalism, of racism. Fundamentalism is when one loses sight of the individual, the name of the person in front of one, because one just sees the bigger idea. Racism and other discrimination is when one sees the individual, but ceases to see the individual, and just sees them as part of a larger group, a larger faith, a larger race, or a larger lifestyle, forgetting the human individual being behind the label. And of course there's the flip side there, in which even the victim sometimes falls into this trap. The Jewish person also sees the other just as an anonymous ishmitri, or allows golus and persecution and attack to define us as a group. We begin believing the stereotypes about ourselves. We let golus and repression narrow our own sense of self and our own vision. And it's only after the Geula process, the redemption process starts, and Moshe is given his mission, that the Torah switches from monochromatic back to colour. And this time it tells us the same story again, but with names. Vayikach Amram es Yocheved. Amram now with a name. He's not just some anonymous member of a Levite tribe, but Amram takes Yocheved with a name as his wife. And indeed, one of Moshe's first questions to Hashem is that the people will ask me, Ma Shemo, what's his name? What's your name, Hashem? They want to ask, how can we relate to you? How can we know you as a personal God? We need to know what you're called. So the onset of the Geula, Hashem giving Moshe his mission, is then that individuals come back to life. And of course this is part of the purpose of Golus, of difficult experiences, so that we can elevate them through Geula, through redemption, and that we can learn from these experiences, so that we never stop seeing people as individuals, that we see their names, Shemos. And it's only through seeing the names of others that we can learn our own names. And it's only when we relearn our own names that we can truly know Hashem's name, God's name too. We have to love the stranger, the other, because we were once strangers and others in the land of Egypt. We knew what it was to lose our own names, to have our names stolen from us. And we must never steal the names from others again. And therefore this is the bracha, the message that I want to share today. We should know our own name, we should have a sense of ourself and our own self-worth, but we should know the names of others too, and through that may we learn the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Amen. Be well. Shabbat Shalom. Good Shabbos.